So obviously with the Nintendo Switch 2 coming out, people are talking, they're still not decided, I haven't seen the tests, I maybe reported on it too early in my Nintendo Switch video, that hey, maybe there is less delay or like less input delay generally on the Nintendo Switch 2, not just loading times. So if that is the case, and kind of in theory, even if it's not currently the case, like if they in the future make a Nintendo, Switch 2 Smash Ultimate Deluxe with all the DLC, and it works better because the Nintendo Switch 2 is a better system, what changes would happen in this tier list, assuming the game is the same? And I kind of want to go over that because I feel like it's something that not a lot of people think about, of just like how much, the input delay of the game affects how good some characters or how bad some characters are. So I want to talk about if there's like even let's say 2 or 3 frames less input delay, what changes in Smash Ultimate. And I'm going to do a tier list. It's not going to be like who's the best and the worst characters. It's going to be like buffed versus nerfed versus the same. So let's go. So as I normally do with these types of tier lists, I'm actually going to do it in a random order. And in general, the things you're going to be looking out for are basically 3 things. 1, are your burst options going to become more reactable? And like that's really important. You're probably going to get worse. Is your combo game DI dependent, and is it hard to react to those DIs? If so, you're probably going to get better. And 3, if your character struggles in disadvantage, I think that might be an issue, or like you rely on like one specific option disadvantage, like a R.O.B nair, for example. I think that people being able to do defensive counterplay a little bit easier is going to be a big deal. So the first character I'm going to do is Min Min. Ooh, that's interesting. Because I feel Min Min's a hard one. Min Min's not one I've thought about, because I've definitely thought about a couple things. Like I talked to my brother, longtime competitor Nick Riddle, and we talked about a couple characters, but who? Min Min's an interesting one. I'm going to say that Min Min gets, at the very least, slightly nerfed. I don't know if heavy nerf, but slightly nerfed. She does have some benefits, right? Because she can react to things better. Her parry game is going to be better, so like her defensive game in that regard is going to be better. But I feel like a lot of the gameplay against Min Min is kind of guessing if she's going to throw out second arm. Oh, you jumped slightly too early? Yeah, that didn't work. You got hit by the second arm. And I feel like being able to parry second arm or deal with those type of things is generally going to be better, because a lot of her stuff is like fringe reactable or like barely unreactable, frame like 16, 15, 17 with like the arms, which become reactable if you have 2 or 3 less frames of delay. Yeah, I think that overall she would get nerfed. Would it be beneficial to Switch 2 ran Smash Bros at 100? I don't know enough, to be honest. I'm not that type of gamer. Another random character, Olimar. Honestly, I don't want to think about Olimar too much, so I'm just gonna click kind of the same, because I feel like his defensive play maybe gets a little bit better, but also a little bit worse, because he, like, I feel like purple Pikmin are going to be less effective, but at the same time, I feel like, he can react to some of the unreactable stuff a little bit better, like Steve Minecart and like those fringe reactable moves. So like those matchups get better. Other matchups like Fox and Cloud probably get worse. Well, maybe not Cloud, but Fox at least gets worse. Like the brawler type characters, which can give Olimar some trouble. Roy, stuff like that. Next character, give me one. Mii Sword Fighter. So, ordinarily, if this was, how long ago did the Mii Sword Fighter stuff come out? 3 months ago? If it was more than 3 months ago, I would have said this character gets heavily nerfed because all of his projectiles get worse and everything gets worse. But now he's a combo character, and not only is he a combo character, but he's a combo character that has to react to DI very, very quickly, and having 2 or 3 frames more of time to react is a huge deal. So even though I think his projectiles get worse and stuff like, well, no, I think even his projectiles do technically get worse, and things like random side B, random down B do get worse. You get to confirm it off of the shuriken a little bit better. And again, the combo game becomes ridiculous because you have those 2 or 3 extra frames to read the DIs, which can just lead to kills now. Like his combo game got so much better because of the because of Ramble's videos. I think that would be a heavy buff, because any character that has hard to do combos because of DI variations will get buffed. So yeah, I think even though his projectiles get a little worse, like you're still not going to be reacting to like back air and down tilts and stuff like that. So I think it makes it a little bit easier for him. And again, the combos just get so much easier. Link. I think Link is probably in slightly buff territory. I think that his combo game gets better, but obviously his projectile game gets worse. So in the matchups, you need to camp with things like Boomerang and like Camp with Bomb, those get a little bit harder, but I think overall he would benefit more from being able to react to things a little bit better. Up B's out of shield a little bit better. Footstool's out of shield be a little bit better. Meta Knight. We talking about offline? Yeah, for sure. Because I think Meta Knight in general, you know, he's just a combo character, right? Like that's literally all he does for the most part. And you know, he's that, and he's like a tech chase character. So tech chases get easier, and then combos get better. So I think that he would be able to like react more to the SDI. He'd be able to react to DIs a little bit better, and everything. Because of that, because Meta Knight's just inherent benefits of a character are his combos, he would just get better. Because like if you're a combo character, you're gonna get buffed in the result of this. Like if there was less lag, which again, we don't 100% know. We don't know if there's less delay. I haven't seen the official testing. I haven't seen like the super nerdy people test that stuff yet. But if it was the case, or if again the Switch 2 has a new Smash game that's basically the same, like Switch 2 Deluxe or Nintendo or Smash Bros Deluxe, I think it would be fine. I imagine every Whip Punish big combo character would get a genuine increase of power. Yeah, exactly. Greninja. So I think Greninja would kind of be the same, because I feel like the offensive aspect of him would be better, right? Being able to, again, just whiff punish. The dash attack stuff's going to be better. Like his microspacing's going to be better. That stuff would be better, but unfortunately, I think his defensive side, or like his disadvantage, would get a lot worse, because how does Greninja land? Down air, which you spot dodge, and then nair, which you parry, or forward air, which you parry. And you would just be able to parry his options, like his jump options, so consistently. His ground game would be better, but I think his air game would be a lot worse, which means that I think overall he gets worse, or like, you know, it kind of balances out. So I hope now that we've done a couple, like y'all understand kind of like where I'm coming from with all these Ike. I think because Ike's game plan is so obvious, and that's like the defensive play that I was talking about that like people have to deal with Greninja, which is like just parry his nair. I think it gets pretty heavily worse, because he does not get the ability to just like hope people mess up as much, because people would mess up less if there was 2 or 3 frames less of delay. So I think he's pretty heavily nerfed, and he doesn't really have any benefit, because it's not like his combos are difficult. It's not like he has a bunch of really niche micro interactions. Like he'd be able to 2-frame slightly better with his neutral B, but then his entire neutral game would be just worse, in my opinion. Like obviously he'd be able to get like parry down tilt stuff more on some other characters, but I don't think it outweighs anything. Lucas. I think current meta Lucas would get buffed. I don't think like heavy buff, because he's not that much of a combo. Like he has his combo character, but it's kind of a timing based thing. It's not really, you don't really have to react to stuff like that. Like I guess you sometimes have to react with like your dashes and stuff, but that's mostly character based more than SDI based. So I think Lucas would get buffed, because currently a lot of his stuff is just people, by people I mean the Lucas players, just kind of doing a lot with their combo game, and a lot with like intricate like close quarter combat stuff. And like I think Pika Fire would get worse a little bit, but like his 2-framing would get better with forward tilt, with down smash, and his combo game would get better, at least by a little bit, right? So at the same time, again, he does have the disadvantage problems, kind of like Greninja has, but I think that overall Lucas benefits more just because he can just randomly kill people a lot. So I think that because of that, he does get buffed as opposed to kind of in the middle, because his disadvantage, realistically, he can just go to ledge, and that's fine, whereas Greninja doesn't like being on ledge, so I don't know. Kazuya. I think Kazuya gets nerfed a little bit. I think his combos are currently still easy. I think maybe it would make his tech chases, like the Ferps tech stuff, a little bit easier, which is nice. But also, a lot of people are just getting kills like that anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I think the biggest nerf comes from, again, his disadvantage being able to react to things like his down B. Like he's like very close to kind of the same. He might be kind of the same, but I think his disadvantage getting a little bit better or a little bit worse is important. Like people, do you know how many people get hit by that stupid laser that he does off stage for no reason? Then people would stop getting hit by that laser, or they would edgeguard him a little bit more effectively. So I think that oftentimes, like that would be a net negative for him, because he's still ridiculous and he would still be incredibly top tier, but I don't think he would like it's not a heavy nerf. I just think it's like slightly worse. Hero. I feel like Hero's kind of the same, because I don't think much about his spells change. I think his disadvantage technically gets slightly a little bit worse, but he doesn't really combo enough to get a buff, and he also gets zoom, so it doesn't matter, so he is fine. Like, I don't think Hero actually changes at all. In fact, he might get like slightly nerfed due to the fact that his bad matchups would probably get better. Like, I think like Fox, Brawler, like those characters get better, and so he would struggle more. but I don't think outside of that, I think it's the same. Diddy Kong. Ironically, I think Diddy gets nerfed. I feel like, honestly, he gets heavily nerfed, not in the same way that Ike gets heavily nerfed, but I think one thing that is such a boon for Diddy Kong players is Monkey Flip. And if you could react to Monkey Flip, so many positions get easier because you just hold shield against this character all the time, and then he hopes that like he does like a down toss weird slip thing, and that's all he has. Because I think that Diddy Kong in general, you know, you can oftentimes shield a lot of his stuff. His combos aren't like DI stuff, so like that doesn't really matter. Like clearly, if you see in Tweak's combos, he doesn't need to react to do those combos. A lot of them are, you know, timing based, and like DI doesn't really make that much of a difference because like you can barely DI Nair, you can barely DI down tilt. So I think Monkey Flip being easier to react to both in neutral and a disadvantage is a huge deal. He would still be a good character because the characters that he gets to play defensive with, that gets a lot easier because Banana Toss out of shield, you know, Footstool out of shield, Z-Drop out of shield, that gets better because you don't have to guess as much. But I think Monkey Flip being worse is like a huge deal. Inkling. I think Inkling gets slightly buffed, mostly because she has a very reactionary neutral, right? She wants to kind of wall you out with back airs. Her dash is really good because she can time to go under stuff. So I think the slightly less delay would be beneficial for her. So I think Inkling just gets buffed because neutral character. Neutral gets easier. You're good. Incineroar. This character gets nerfed to hell, in my opinion. Like, it's weird. I guess maybe not nerfed to hell, but nerfed. Because Revenge probably gets a little bit better because you can react to things and get revenges off, but like Side B gets nerfed. And you're so slow that like everyone with a walling neutral just instantly gets way better against you. It's one of the reasons why, like if you think about it, Incineroar on Wi-Fi, a lot scarier than Incineroar offline, because you can't react to Side B online, like in, you know, Nintendo Switch 1 Smash Ultimate. So if there was less delay, you would just be able to react to like every Side B and just roll through it like every time. Which I think is a big enough deal that it would be heavy nerf, even though there would be some buffs, because like obviously his parry game would get better, you know, timing the invincible stuff, like neutral B would be better, two framing would be better, but like I think he would get nerfed, because I think just in general, slow characters get worse. Lucario. I'm gonna be real, I don't know enough about Lucario to know one way or the other, because I feel like he doesn't have a lot of burst options like that would get affected. Zoning probably is like equal in terms of benefit and worse, because like random shooting it's going to be worse, but at the same time you can react to people like spot dodging and hit them easier, or like rolling and hit them easier. Like you can play that minigame like defensively a little bit better, but like the proactive ones are a little bit worse. But I don't know enough about Lucario. There's two of them. Sorry, 7 Lucario players in the comments. I apologize. I'm formally apologizing. Me Brawler. This character gets buffed. Again, I feel like a lot of the offensive characters just generally get buffed, and a lot of his stuff is like DI stuff, like you have to react to like in or out DI with like up tilts and up airs and like reacting to getting the hit. And if you have 2 or 3 games more of that, like it's kind of just like how Me Brawler gets better offline compared to online, so Me Brawler would just get better, which is so nice. And like his disadvantage is good enough that you don't really have to worry about it, especially if you're running Suplex, because I still don't think Suplex would be reactable. So Suplex would kind of be the same. And then, of course, you still have like down B, you have really good anti-ledge options. Your ledge trapping gets better because it's like, it can oftentimes be reactionary. Parrying like up tilts and stuff like that would be really good. Or like parrying into up tilt would be really good. Like I think this character would go crazy online because again, it's a combo character, right? Like all 3 of these characters are combo characters. The characters that will benefit the most are like free, like combo characters that need to react to DI. And that's what all 3 of these are. Bro's glazing the Mii fighters. Well, actually, I think Mii Gunner gets worse. Because Mii Gunner is just zoning, right? So you'd be able to react to things like bomb, you'd be able to react to charge shot, you'd be able to react to everything a little bit easier. The character's not enough of a combo character. I think the ledge trapping would maybe be a little bit better. And the ledge trapping already can be pretty annoying. But I do think that overall, like, the zoning of this character just gets worse, so she has to not zone ever. Because, like, parrying forward air becomes easier, parrying nair becomes easier, parrying back air becomes easier. Because, like, if you have to, like, defensively land on people like that can be hard, as opposed to, like, mix-up characters. Like, Mii Gunner's not going to empty jump you that often. And even if she does, empty jump isn't going to be that influential. Whereas, like, again, comparing it to the other 2 Mii fighters, like, down throw thrupper, like, empty jump, down throw thrupper, or empty jump, jab, empty jump, down tilt. Like, those are better mix-ups, and it's faster because he's a fast faller. And again, for me, sword fighter, like, having to fight the difference between landing back air versus landing turnaround down tilt versus landing turnaround grab, you know, up throw or down throw up B, stuff like that. All zoners are nerfed? Not necessarily, but non-reactionary zoners like Gunner get worse. Like, Gunner just kind of throws stuff out, as opposed to, like, I'm going to sit here and figure stuff out. Ganondorf. I'm assuming Ganon gets nerfed because slower characters are worse. Like, his defensive game, his parry game, like, isn't that influential. He can react with side B a little bit better, which is kind of nice. He probably stays the same. That doesn't mean much, because it's Ganondorf. So I think that, like, his ability to, like, react to tech chases a little bit better with side B is pretty important. But also, he is probably going to get edge guarded a little bit harder. He's probably going to get zoned out a little harder in terms of, like, walled out. But maybe that's not the case. I don't know. I mean, like, certain matchups will get better, certain matchups will get worse. So, next character, Donkey Kong. I feel like DK is one of those characters that, like, kind of stays the same because he has benefits, right? Again, it's kind of like Greninja, where his offense gets better, his defense gets worse, and his defense is already not great, so that becomes pretty scary because, like, people aren't going to get hit as much with those B reverse down Bs, with the random landing aerials that, like, he has to do because he's heavy, right? So, like, he's going to die more often, but also against the other characters that have to, you know, land against DK, that's really scary. So, like, being able to, like, parry, turn around, grab, parry, turn around, down tilt, stuff like that, that's going to be really good. And he benefits a lot from that. So I think that that's probably, I would still say it's about even, because I feel like DK gets a lot off of people just messing up. Like, even watching, like, Riddles versus Darikusu, which I know Riddles ended up winning the set, but, like, the DK game, it was, like, just like, hey, did he start messing up? Cool, the DK wins. Whereas, like, it would be easier to not mess up against this character. Does that make sense? Well, again, I don't know if there is a difference in input delay, but I'm saying, in theory, if it was. Like, if it was better, or if the next Nintendo, or, like, the next Smash Bros. Game is Smash Bros. Deluxe, and it has less input delay because it's not a Nintendo Switch 1 game that they don't want to, like, change. Ken. I think the two Shotos get a bit better because they can react to their hits a little bit better, and they don't have to guess, like, single hit confirms, like parry, down tilt Shoryu in general is going to be better. I feel like maybe, like, Nairs and stuff are worse, but they don't have to be aggressive when it comes to that. It can be a little bit, they can just be a little bit more passive, which means that probably it's like Ryu gets heavy buffed and Ken gets buffed because Ryu is already the more defensive character. But yeah, I think Ryu, because he can be a little bit more defensive, is really good. Again, single hit confirms are going to be really nice. Their disadvantage is still pretty good because they still have focus, they still have the other options. Like, again, I think everyone's advantage gets a little bit better, but I think that is fine for them because they still have enough options. I think Ridley basically stays the same because I feel like Ridley's side B is already reactable and people just get scared. So it doesn't matter because people are still going to be scared. But I do think he benefits a little bit from edge guarding. His advantage gets a little bit better because again, he like parry down tilt, parry grab. And I think his disadvantage is already not really that big of a deal. Like, it's already it's not as bad as the other heavies. So I think it's going to be fine. Puff. I think Puff gets nerfed. I don't know if heavy nerfed. I think Puff gets nerfed because I feel like people can just play more reactive around her, and she will just get walled out more. So every walling character that gets a little bit better, because they can play more reactionary and not have to guess as much, they all get better, and so I think just Puff gets worse in that aspect. Up air rest is easier though. Pac-Man. He probably stays the same. I feel like his ability to react to people dealing with Hydrant would be a little bit better, but also people would get less hit by like really obvious stuff, like just normal bell things. Like, the counterplay to items would be a little bit easier, but also then he can just play the defensive end of it a little bit better, so it probably evens out. Also, I don't want to think that hard about Pac-Man because I hate this guy, so I'm annoying it. Marth. I think Marth, I'll just also do Lucina. I think both of them get heavily buffed because they are walling characters. They can react to things better. And especially Marth can like more reliably hit his tippers because he can react to exactly what is happening, which is nice. I think these type of sword characters get better. Do I think Lucina is top 5 like someone said in chat earlier? Hell no. That character still would be top 20. But I think that they would get better for sure. Like, granted, their disadvantage also gets worse because their disadvantage isn't great. Shield Breaker becomes worse, so maybe they're not heavily buffed, but maybe they're just, maybe like Martha's heavily buffed and Lucina is buffed because their disadvantage does. Oh, I feel like I'm the only person that thinks that their disadvantage is bad. And maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like the disadvantage is bad and no one talks about it. The Pits. No, I wouldn't say the Pits get heavily buffed, but I would say the Pits get buffed because again, they're a reactionary type character, right? So things like dash tech get better, being able to whiff punish gets better, dash grab is really good. I think the Pits get better just because they're whiff punishy, they're, you know, they can forward air zone. stuff like that gets better. Their edge guarding gets a little bit better because you can react more to the weird burst options. The defensive play against the weird burst options gets better. So, you know, you don't have to worry about things like minecart as much and stuff like that, which can be a big deal because I know that's like not a great matchup. So I feel like a lot of the characters that they struggle with probably get easier. But yeah, I think they get a bit better. Boop. King K. Rool. I think this character sucks if there was less delay. I mean, it's the same thing where like K. Rool gets buffed online. So I think he would just get worse because people would deal with Crown better, people would deal with Blunderbuss better, people would kill this character in disadvantage. Yeah, that's basically it. Disadvantage gets worse. Advantage doesn't change because it's not like this is a really combo character. Neutral gets worse. Duck Hunt. I think Duck Hunt probably stays around the same because I feel like a lot of the Duck Hunt zoning isn't really reaction based. I guess like down B would be a little worse, but like can and side B are still like frame one and can still like cover areas. So I guess like random side, like people getting hit by random side B, but also like good people don't get hit by random side Bs like that. So I don't know. I feel like it doesn't really change because it's more about outsmarting your opponent with the zoning, kind of like I'll also just go with Snake. I don't think that like reacting to these type of things is going to make them much of a difference. Well, Snake might get slightly worse because the disadvantage gets worse, but that's a different reason. But like the zoning part, I think stays about the same because it's about, you know, the positioning and like the spacing and all of that and like trapping people like that, as opposed to deal with this projectile. You know what I'm saying? So like I think that would be about the same, but I do think that Snake's disadvantage is exploitable enough that I think he would get nerfed because people wouldn't be missing the disadvantage all the time. People would deal with the landing aerials better, the reverse grenades a little bit better. So I think he would get slightly nerfed, not heavily nerfed, because people should be doing better with it anyway, and they're not. I'm very critical to how people play against Snake, but I think he would just get slightly nerfed. Plant's probably about the same. I can't imagine there would be a huge difference. You can react to people trying to be aggressive on you and Patooey, but then also people can see Patooey and not hit you, and that probably balances out. And then I feel like everything else is kind of the same, like reaction, ledge trapping. The ledge trapping gets a little bit better, so I think the character basically stays the same because I don't think they're like a heavy zoner or anything like that. I think maybe like reacting to down B would be a little bit easier, but like the disadvantage still has the 50-50 of am I gonna Patooey or not, and I feel like baiting it versus reacting to things that can hit you probably balances out. Ness, definitely some type of nerf. And the reason for that is, Ness currently, what he loses to is whiff punishing, right? Like short hop nair, drift weird, hit him. People not reacting to magnet correctly. So I feel like if people were able to react to magnet a little bit better, he would get hit out of it. And people would be able to not just be like as scared of big move that's just gonna come, like his random like, short hop double jump back here, like, you know, Ness like, you know, kind of just mashing stuff, I feel like would be a little bit easier to deal with, but also he'd be able to whiff punish people with like double jump PK fire better, or also like footstool stuff would be better, which could be a problem. But I think overall he'd get nerfed because they would just get whiff punished for doing things more. God, I never realized how much I want this game to have like 2 frames less until I talked about Ness, and I was like, oh, that would be so much easier because I'm always so close to whiff punishing, and then I just get nared anyway, or it trades. But that wouldn't happen, which would be nice. Robin. Oh, see, I feel like Robin is the type of zoner that gets nerfed because like they just kind of throw out Arc Thunder, L Thunder, Arc Fire, so you'd be able to react to those things more. And like the combo game isn't good enough to compensate, but also the disadvantage states of general, well, like they're not really like a ground parry do something person because their stuff isn't fast enough. Like they're not like parry down tilt kill confirm or parry grab kill confirm. So I think Robin is probably just nerfed because the projectiles get worse, but also like ledge trapping's still really good. So I don't think it would be like a huge nerf, but I do think there would be a nerf. Ice Climbers probably stay the same. Their asses are not DIing for stuff in combos. They just do the thing. It's just like, I got the hit, clickety, 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 click, nothing else matters because like you're not DIing it, you're not doing anything. So the combos probably stay the same. The defense probably gets a little bit better because everyone's defense gets a little bit better. Their disadvantage probably gets a little worse, but also side B's still really good. So like whatever. And I think like the good characters against Ice Climbers probably do a little bit better in that matchup because they can react to how they're approaching and stuff more. But also they will randomly get in better because they can like walk and parry more effectively. So about the same. Falco. I'm gonna just say this character gets buffed. I don't think heavily buffed because like a lot of Falco's advantage state is preemptive anyway because up tilt is huge. So I don't think you have to like do parry up tilt stuff. Footstool up out of shield gets better. Your disadvantage does get slightly worse, but I think that, again, Falco's offense is just better than his defense anyway, so he would just be more offensive. And then people would be slightly better at killing him, but also he would kill people better, which is already kind of a thing. And sword characters are this good, then I'm glad the game has delay. But, like, different sword characters, right? Because, like, the reason, like, certain sword characters aren't good because they're sword characters. Like, Roy and Lucina are not the same type of, like, they're sword characters, but they're different, right? Like, Aegis is not the same as Lucina. They play very differently, and the reason they're good is different. You know, swords are just good, though. Like, disjoints are good, especially if they don't compensate with, like, bad frame data. Pichu! Oh, God, this character gets buffed. This character needs to react to SDI and DI all the time. But yeah, I think that, like, Pichu, because Pichu has to react to DI a good bit, first off, up throw thunder, huge deal, right? Like, the kill confirm, it would be so much easier. In the middle of combos, DI in and DI out can make huge differences when it comes to comboing into thunder or comboing into specific moves or where you're positioning yourself. It would be huge for Pichu, because Pichu has options to cover every DI, but you have to be correct, which is hard when, you know, you have a very small window to DI, but I think, like, you would have a better window to read the DI if there was less lag. So I think Pichu gets heavily buffed. He would still be, like, low high tier at best, but he would be better. Doc. I think Doc gets nerfed. Again, his combos aren't really DI dependent, so it doesn't really matter, and he would get walled out more. And so things would be less effective. People would be able to deal with Pill easier. People would be able to wall him out more effectively. So all those, like, fringe situations where you're like, oh, I feel like I could have reacted to that, or I could have positioned myself better. You, like, would. So, yeah. Joker. I think Joker would get buffed just a little bit. He's a whiff punish character, right? He's going to dash tag. He's going to do all these things. That's mostly it. Whiff punishing is better when you can react better. That's basically it. Because I don't think, like, his gun stuff changes. I mean, people get hit by less side B, but also people shouldn't be getting hit by as much side B as they are anyway, or it's like a read or a reaction based on someone approaching in a weird way. So I think that would be about the same. The defensive play would, I mean, being able to, like, parry footstool gun would be nice, but also there's one Joker that does footstool gun at the moment, which is Omega. So, and the one Bowser Jr. player that plays in Canada that also plays Joker. I forget who they are. But yeah, I think Joker just got slightly buffed. Peach probably stays the same because, like, being able to punish her stuff more. Oh yeah, Toast does it too. That is true. Toast does do footstool gun. I think Peach would be one of those characters that's, like, reacting to getting the hit would be really good because it's a little bit hard currently to just, like, oh, I got the nair, and you go for your combo. Like, that isn't necessarily super easy at the moment, so that would be a little bit easier. But also, they're hitting that shit anyway, so I don't know how much of a difference it makes. Whereas, I think being able to defensively deal with her would be a lot different because you'd be able to react to the, like, float mix-ups a little bit better. You'd be able to, like, punish or, like, parry hit 4 of down air better. You'd be able to deal with her neutral a little bit better. And that's, like, a big deal of why she's good, is because she can just kind of, like, bear, and it's, like, really hard to deal with because if you didn't see it ahead of time, you're just like, oh, I could have punished it, I didn't. So I'm gonna say, like, it evens out because, like, the combos for Peach don't necessarily need DI reads because they're all mostly non-tumble because of the way turnips work. So it's not like, oh, I can suddenly combo significantly better. Like, again, you can a little bit because you're going to, like, react to you getting the hit more, but I feel like the neutral is harder for her, which would be a big deal, in my opinion. I could be wrong. Let me know down in the comments if I'm wrong. This is probably my most contentious one, honestly, so yeah. Mewtwo. Mewtwo probably stays about the same, because, like, you get some good stuff, right? You get the ability to advantage people a little bit easier. You don't have to worry about the, like, random crazy burst options as much. Your projectiles may be slightly worse, but also you have, like, side B. You have your general aerials, which can still be good. So I think it would just stay about the same. He is also, like, not great. So I don't know how much of a difference it makes. But yeah, I would say it's probably around the same. DDD. I'm gonna assume this character gets nerfed. Because Gordo gets worse. Yeah, I think DDD just gets worse. Because he doesn't really do anything. And so people can just kind of bully him either with their better stuff, they wall him out better, they advantage him better. But also, if he stays the same, that's fine. He would still be bottom 5, so it's fine. Random character. Pika. I wouldn't say Pika gets heavily buffed, but I do think Pika would get buffed. because there is a lot of like fringe reactable stuff. Up tilt nair loops are one thing. Mostly like the biggest thing was honestly be up tilt bridges, because that would be slightly more reactable. And like down throw would be a little bit easier to react to. Granted, that's already kind of easy, but just like there's a lot of like 50-50s with DI that you can do if you are ready for it. So I think that Pika would get a little bit better, but not like much better. And obviously like his disadvantage is still super good. That doesn't really change because he's just going to go to ledge or go under the stage. So like it's not like, oh, he's gonna get juggled forever, because he never gets juggled forever anyway, because you simply avoid the entire situation. So like he doesn't get the negatives of less delay, of like people can defense me better, because there's, what are you gonna do? Like parry the landing into my back air? People already do that because it's a specific timing. Delay doesn't change that. Fox. I think Fox, maybe not heavily buffed, but I think Fox would get buffed as well. I don't think Fox gets heavily buffed because his combos don't need to worry about DI as much. So I like, compared to Brawler, for example, like they're similar, but Brawler's combos are more DI dependent. So he benefits more because Fox just does the same thing, and you still won't be able to react to like his empty jump because it's still a good mix-up, still really fast. So he would just benefit because he'd be able to like whiff punish a little bit better, and then his like offensive pressure would be able to, you'd be able to react a little bit more as Fox. Again, it's kind of like, think about it, Fox from online to offline in like normal Smash is better, so Fox would do better like if there was less delay overall in the game. Is kind of how I like to think about it, which I know I said about Peach, but I feel like Peach is kind of in that sweet spot where it kind of stops mattering. Whereas Fox, I feel like would just get better because like empty jumps would be better, jab pressure would be better, like less trapping would be better. So yeah, I think Fox gets buffed. Game & Watch. Game & Watch probably gets nerfed a little bit, mostly because dealing with Nair in neutral would be a little bit easier. Like walling him out with things like Lucina and stuff would be easier. Like Sora characters would be a little bit easier. And you'd be able to like react in, you know, like down air better, or like down airs would be less effective as a whole. Like all those type of moves, like the stall and falls in general would be worse. Random burst options like that would be worse. So like because down air would be worse, it wouldn't be as effective, and people would also be able to like react to up B a little bit better and like jump and hit you if they like guess right in the first place. But also the defensive game would be better because you'd be able to like react and parry more, like parry, F tilt, parry, down tilt. Those are very good. So I don't think it's like a big deal, but I do think it would get slightly worse because a lot of his stuff like already covers a billion options, so you don't get the like advantage of like, oh my god, I can suddenly juggle people so easily. It's like Game Watch does that anyway, so I don't know how much of a difference that makes, if that makes sense. Sephiroth. I think Sephiroth gets nerfed because everything he does is slow. So like if you could consistently parry things like F tilt or back air, because those two are like, everything he has is like fringe reactable because they're the frame like 16 to 18 marker. So like I think he's already like default backing up and trying to hit people, but I think a lot of his moves would become more reactable and parryable, which means he would be worse because that's like the counterplay for the character. It's just hard to do that because sometimes you're just going to be wrong. You'd be able to like react to down smash better, which is like a huge thing. So I think his edge trapping would be better, but again, his edge trapping is already so slow because like F tilt is just really, really slow. So I think he would be a little bit, and by a little bit I mean quite a bit worse. Chrom. I think Roy and Chrom kind of stay the same. I don't think they get buffed. Like it's one of those characters that's like, it's not they stay the same, it's just there is a buff and a nerf, right? Because I feel like the disadvantage of some characters getting worse is a big deal. Being able to like parry, R.O.B, Nair, jab, huge deal. Parry, R.O.B, Nair, F tilt, side B, whatever. Those are big deals. But I think that this character gets away with people not, you know, dealing with their moves correctly, parrying hit 2 of Nair, their B reverse stuff off edge, being able to react to something they do on ledge and then choose an appropriate ledge option to get around it. Because like they're not really like whiff punishy fast characters, because like they don't really have that. Because their moves aren't fat, like their moves don't do that. Like they don't have like good dash attacks or good like dash grabs. Like they slow down a lot when they do those things. So they're not really whiff punish type fast characters. So I don't think it benefits as much as like Fox or Aegis, in my opinion, becomes insanely buffed because I think Mithra probably just becomes the best character in the game because she's unreactable anyway because she's too fast. So everything that is like random against her stops working as much. So I think Mithra just becomes like ridiculous. Like, there's no way to ever get around her advantage state. There's no way to, like, play her in neutral correctly unless you're, like, Sonic, who's also really fast. So I think Mythra would just be nuts. And, like, you know, maybe, like, people would be able to, like, punish her Nair a little bit better. But also, realistically, you just wouldn't use Nair in neutral ever. And if you're in disadvantage, how'd you get hit? Like, genuinely, how would you get hit? It's crazy. But yeah, I think she would just become by far the best swordy in the game. And I think Pyra would actually be worse, but it doesn't matter. Because, like, playing Pyra in neutral would be worse, because things like side B would be worse. Her moves are a lot slower, so they would be a little bit more reactable, a little bit more parryable. So the disadvantage would definitely be worse. But, like, Mythra gets so good that it doesn't matter. Like, Mythra just becomes unbeatable, right? So it would just be insane. Zero Suit. Zero Suit's a weird one, because Zero Suit is such a bad player base that it's hard to tell. Because I'm thinking of, like, if Mars was able to react to things better, would it be better? But also, the counterplay to Zero Suit is literally parry things and react to grab. So I think that Zero Suit probably gets worse. I think parrying her stuff is too good. So suddenly she has no aerial pressure, and, like, she's gonna empty jump jab you, which again doesn't really matter that much. And grab is more reactable, which means that the, like, main mix-up of how you not shield gets easier against her. But also, like, you're gonna tech chase better, but also I don't know if she's never really reacting in tech chasing. She's just kind of guessing to get down smash, because I don't think it's fast enough to react and get a down smash. Maybe if that was the case, she'd be better, but I don't think that's the case anyway. Maybe she gets, like, react to tech chase like Nair or something like that, like Nair flip kick. But I do think she gets slightly worse, just because you'd parry her aerials, and, like, you wouldn't get hit by side B as much, you wouldn't get hit by Zair as much. You wouldn't be able to, like, grab as much. But also, she'd be able to advantage people a lot, because you do, like, parry up tilts and parry F tilts. So, like, her pressure in a defensive aspect would get better, but, like, the initial hit would be harder. So I think it's slightly nerfed. Rosa, I have no fucking clue. Again, this character is very intricate and weird, so I don't know, because, like, she'd be able to react and, like, parry up smash more. But also people would, like, be able to deal with Luma probably a little bit better, but also maybe not, because then she would be parrying more. And I genuinely don't know. Again, similar to Pac-Man, I don't want to think about it too hard. And if you think that discredits me, let me know down in the comments down below. And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, ring that bell. I would appreciate it. But yeah, I'm just literally going to group it with Pac-Man, because I don't know. I genuinely don't know. R.O.B. So R.O.B. is similar to Peach in terms of what I said, because the offense of this character will get better, because you'd be able to react to the fact that you got some hits better. So you'd be able to get your 0 deaths better, which are very impactful. However, R.O.B. players benefit from, oh, I messed up my parry on Nair way too much. So this character's disadvantage would become dog shit, which would make him a lot worse, because people would actually just kill him or deal 1,000,000,000% when he's in disadvantage. But also, he would be doing that to people, because he's going to parry people disadvantage, grab, down throw, up tilt, up air, or parry, down tilt, down tilt, down tilt, blah, blah, blah. So, like, random moves that you're going to get hit by would be worse. But, like, he can just not do that. He can just use down tilt and fair, right? Which is kind of like the difference when you are playing, like, an offline R.O.B. versus an online R.O.B. Like, online R.O.B.'s mash nair, mash back air, blah, blah, blah. Whereas, like, I feel like when you watch Zomba, he's just forward airing people. I mean, he does a lot in Nair too, but, like, he forward airs a lot, because it's just really good offline, because it's just like, oh, pff, hit you, you're done. So yeah, I think probably stays about the same. Samus, I think Samus probably stays about the same. I'm gonna, like, talk it out, and maybe I'll change my mind as I think about it, because, like, I feel like Samus, her defense gets better in terms of her, like, advantage state defense of, like, I'm gonna parry up B you, I'm gonna parry down tilt, but, like, charge shot becomes a little bit easier to deal with, forward air becomes a little bit easier to deal with, her disadvantage becomes a little bit easier to deal with. So, like, again, it's one of those, like, it kind of, you know, polarizes her, where, like, neutral can still be really good, but is it as good? I'm not sure. Like, do the rushdown characters become a little bit too difficult? I don't know, because also they can react to getting hit on shield and up B more consistently. So I'm not 100% sure what would happen. And talking about it didn't change my mind. So I don't know. Making charge shot more reactable, but charge shot's, like, not more reactable, because when you're charging charge shot, it becomes frame 3. So, like, that's not reactable anyway. It's only reactable when you're, like, half stage or more. Maybe, like, third stage or more. So I don't know how much of a difference. Like, 3 frames of how far charge shot goes, I don't think makes that much of a difference. Bowser. I think Bowser would kind of stay the same. Maybe he would get slightly nerfed, because I feel like your tail is being weird and green screeny. Because I feel like, again, his disadvantage for sure would get worse, but also he'd be able to up B things a little bit better. He'd be able to parry side B things a little bit better. So again, his offense gets better, his defense gets worse. Or like his advantage state gets better, his disadvantage state gets worse. So, but I feel like his disadvantage state is already so bad that it doesn't really matter if it's worse, because he should already kind of be dying to that, so I don't think that matters. So yeah. Sonic. I think Sonic gets worse, actually. Because like, his whiff punish game is really good, but I can't imagine how much better it gets, right? But I feel like dealing with his disadvantage a little bit better makes a big deal. Things like his recovery would get a little bit worse. Things like his disadvantage state would get a little bit worse. And I feel like that would be a tipping point that is like pretty influential. And like, you're not falling for random like gimmicks as much. You're not falling for like the up B back air random stuff. But also things like dash grab would be really good for him. Like, it would be better. So, like, maybe it would just transition how he plays to, like, the run-up jab style more. But also, again, I'd rather get hit by run-up jab a billion times than, like, spun once. I think spin gets worse, because, like, you don't have to guess how far it's going to go. Like, yes, he can react to it more, but also Sonic players are kind of already reacting to positions because the positions where spin is good are kind of obvious. In terms of, like, how long you can be charging and then let it go. Like, it's fine. Like, oh, someone jumped at you. You get the entire jump arc, which is why, like, Fox is still hard. Because it's, like, his jump is too fast and they let go of spin. It, like, hits a shield, can't do anything, he up smashes. That would still kind of be the same. So I feel like it's just either stays the same or gets worse, like, in every aspect. Sora. So I'm going to say Sora gets a little bit nerfed because I feel like his recovery becomes easier to deal with. I feel like his disadvantage gets worse. I don't feel like he benefits as much from the advantage stuff because, like, he kind of can already, like, frame trap and stuff like that with, like, up air, falling nair. And his combos, like, there's, like, really low SDI multipliers on stuff like nair and fair, so it's not like you really get to react to DI better because there isn't really DI in those combos. People just need to time their stuff better, and people need to practice the timings better. Maybe, like, footstool nair stuff would be a little bit easier because the defense in that aspect gets better. But also, like, dealing with sword characters that have, like, mediocre back airs, like Sora back air. Like, it's a good back air. It's a good back air, sir. But, like, it'd be easier to parry, so get parry whiff punish. You'd be able to, like, whiff punish his nair a little bit easier. So I feel like, you know, he gets slightly worse. And, like, his projectiles obviously get worse. Steve. I think Steve gets hella nerfed. I think there is one aspect that gets better, which is nil combos. So Susu would be fine. No, but I feel like he gets nerfed because the entire reason that Steve is good is because of the ambiguity of the timings of side B and down air. Which is why Steve is, like, he's obviously the best character in both, like, you know, or one of the best characters, offline and online, right? But I feel like Steve would get nerfed because things like minecart would be worse. Like, things like just random, like, the Steve random disadvantage state would just be worse. Like, he would still be, like, top 15, top 20, but he wouldn't just be like, oh, of course I got hit by down, or oh, of course I got hit by minecart, because you could just be more ready for them. Because those things aren't like, oh, Steve is reacting with something, with a minecart, except like in the projectile matchups, which were already his favorite anyway. Like, Samus would be a harder matchup probably for Samus, but at the same time, that matchup's already -2, so what does it matter? Let's go with Luigi. So I think Luigi kind of stays the same, because his, like, neutral gets easier to deal with. Right? So, like, his random, like, walling, like, fair, zare, fireball, blah, 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 that stuff gets easier to deal with. But also, he'd be able to react to the SDI on his combos better, which would be really scary. So, like, his offense gets better, but, like, his neutral gets worse. And I feel like that's a trade-off. But, like, the neutral being worse means that he would then get disadvantaged harder, right? Or, like, edge-guarded harder, which I think would be relevant. So I think he gets a little bit worse, if that makes sense, chat. Does that make sense, chat? I actually think Terry gets nerfed because I like a tail. And the reason I think Terry gets worse is because I feel like his disadvantage is worse. And I feel like Terry doesn't need single hit confirms for the most part, because, like, jab special move is already not a single hit confirm. You know what I'm saying? So, like, he doesn't really need to do that. Like, what, you get down tilt into burn knuckle, but you can just do down tilt into burn knuckle, so that doesn't really matter. but his disadvantage gets a lot worse. And I feel like a lot of Terry players get away with like crack shoot, down B, and like people just aren't ready to like react to the crack shoot and hit him for it. So I feel like that would happen more often, or people would be able to like spot dodge the down B and something like that. That would be possible. Easier motion inputs. Once again, inputs and combos don't get easier with less delay, because it's all about how much time do you have to react to doing the thing, which you would have around the same, because you would still probably do 2 moves. Wouldn't it be easier to react to SDI? I guess. But like sometimes you can just do SDIs that affect both combos. So you don't really need, like, it's not like in versus out where it's like, oh, one works one way, one works the other way. Like you can just SDI out on both. But I feel like the disadvantage for Terry would get a lot worse, because his disadvantage is, in my opinion, the worst of the 4 fighting game characters. Well, I guess Kazuya's is, but Kazuya just like, well, he's so heavy that it doesn't matter, basically. So I think that's basically the main difference there. Pokemon Trainer. Pokemon Trainer probably stays about the same because it depends on which character, right? You'd be able to disadvantage the character harder, edge trap the character a little bit better, which would not be good for him, right? But like Squirtle's probably better, because like dash forward tilt is like crazy. But like I guess none of the characters like fast enough to like really whiff punish. But like Charizard's gets scarier because like parry up smash, parry up B. But like the disadvantage gets so much worse for all 3 Pokemon trainers that I feel like that's a trade-off. So I feel like that would probably be about the same. Wario also probably stays about the same, because his issue is getting walled out. He would get walled out a little bit harder. But at the same time, I feel like his like combos would be easier. His random like single hit confirms, like down tilt into dash attack, would be a little bit easier. So I feel like those are influential. But he probably stays around the same because like, I don't know, maybe like also being able to deal with Nair in like terms of like parrying Nair 2 would be better. But also his ledge trapping would be better, and it kills people. So I don't know. This is an interesting one. So I think it kind of stays about the same. I feel like there wouldn't be that influential of a thing one way or the other. Bowser Jr., I'm going to say probably gets a little bit nerfed, because one major thing about Bowser Jr. is his grab game does so much damage, right? But his grab is really slow. So if you were able to react to it, like what frame is it? I'm going to assume like 15. Yeah, dash grab's 14. So 14 is like super not really, or it's like very, very fringe reactable if you're super paying attention and you're God currently. Whereas if you had 2 or 3 more frames, it becomes a little bit easier. If there's like 3 frames of inherent delay, you can have a 10 frame reaction time if you're looking out for something. So I think that would be a big deal. And everything else probably like stays about the same, because like his moves are still decent to deal with. Like he doesn't have like great like parry ground move or things like that. But I guess he has like parry up B or like footstool out of shield actually gets a lot better. So maybe he actually stays about the same, because I feel like side B kind of still works the same because it's already reactable and people still get hit by the mix-ups because they're the mix-ups. But it's mostly the why do my greens get like worse over time? So like, but his grab is so influential, I feel like, because characters that can't grab just get so much worse. So I feel like the grab nerf, kind of like similar to Zero Suit, would just be a little bit harder, and so therefore things would just be a little bit worse. The Belmonts. I think the Belmonts get slightly buffed, mostly because the like zoning game of like forward air and forward tilt would be better, and I feel like that would be really good. He wouldn't have to rely on the projectiles as much. So like even though like obviously like things like the cross and down B spamming would be a little bit worse, I feel like his like forward air and stuff would get better enough, and he'd also be able to like parry up B, you know, keep people in disadvantage a little bit better, which is like something that the Belmonts desperately need because they're gonna die off stage anyway, so it doesn't matter. Palu, I don't think Palu gets a heavy buff, but she gets buffed for sure because she's not a combo character like that. Because like it's not like SDI messes up her combos, or like DI messes up her combos very often. So it's mostly a neutral thing, but she'd be a little bit better at dealing with neutral, because things like her dash attack would be better, her whip punishing, her speed is generally going to be very good. So I feel like it would be probably just a little bit better overall. But like that's basically it. Like it's pretty simple analysis of that. Sheik. I think Sheik probably gets heavily buffed because she's one of those characters that benefits from the whiff punish benefit, right? Being able to needle, being able to dash attack, being able to like dash F tilt. Those are really, dash grab, those things are very important for her. Also, her combos would become a little bit more consistent because you can react to DI a little bit better. You can react to like weird positioning a little bit better. So she's a combo character that also whiff punishes, that has a really good disadvantage state. So it's not like you're going to super keep her in disadvantage because you don't generally do that anyway because she has bouncing fish. So I think this character gets real good, real good. I need the extended versions. Next up, Corrin. Like, I feel like a lot of her stuff isn't super slow, but nothing's super fast, so it's not like her defense would get like she'd be able to keep people in disadvantage better, but also she kind of already does. So I don't know how much of a difference that makes. But also she'd have like a worse disadvantage. So I feel like she'd probably stay about the same because like the benefit of like parry down tilt up tilt or parry down tilt up air kind of is about the same as like, oh, she's just gonna die in normal advantage. It's a little like kind of the same. But like she's a good character, so it will still be good for her. But I think that it probably just that kind of benefit is kind of the same because it's like you don't really wall her out. You know what I'm saying? Unless you're like a super zoner, but like I don't think the zoners. I mean, maybe she would get better because bad matchups will get worse, like Diddy Kong and like Sonic. But you know, I feel like as a character inherently, it would be probably about the same. Toon Link. I feel like Toon Link would probably be about the same because like being able to play the advantage state is really good for him, and it would get better, like parry up tilts, parry down tilts, parry dash attacks, things like that. The projectiles would get a little bit worse. So like, but I think his neutral is solid enough anyway. Like things like Zaire, you know, his F tilt is so good, down tilt, up tilt would all get better, I feel like. But like projectiles would get slightly worse, but bomb defense would still be incredible. Bomb was just good in general, having more time to react to like bomb into up smash or bomb into up air, forward air. The footstool stuff would get better. So honestly, probably he gets buffed because like boomerang gets worse, and that's kind of it. But like, you don't need to boomerang, you could just do the other things, if that makes sense. Falcon. Falcon's gonna kill people. I don't think it's a heavy buff because again, his combos aren't really DI dependent. Like technically they are, but like at a point where you can kind of just do them nowadays anyway. Like Nair Knee, DI in versus DI out, like they hit that shit already. And like a lot of his like up air stuff, it doesn't really matter where you DI. But he does get buffed because he'd be able to like dash attack and dash grab people better. Like his whiff punishing would be really, really good. And he just has so much damage anyway. So yeah, I really feel like in general, it is probably just a slight buff for him. And he doesn't have to worry about those random unreactable things as much because it is not. The things are less random, essentially. Isabelle. Ooh. I feel like Isabelle probably stays the same, but Villager gets slightly worse because, again, Isabelle has better CQC tools, mostly because of up tilt and jab. So there are benefits there. Hi, Fern. So I feel like Isabelle probably stays around the same, whereas like Villager's zoning just strictly gets worse. Isabelle's can also be reactionary, because you can just like wait and then forward air, wait, F tilt, things like that. Which I know Villager can do somewhat, but also his general tempo is good because you have to deal with side B and then you have to do stuff. Whereas like Isabelle, it's kind of different just because of the ability for her to have a really good up tilt and jab and stuff like that. Kirby. Kirby probably, it's not as heavy of a nerf as someone like Puff, because I think Kirby's combo game gets better. Like Puff's is already really good, but I think Kirby's combo game gets a bit better. But also he's slow, so it's really hard to deal with. The neutral would be harder, but at the same time, you'd be able to react to like down tilt trip into forward smash consistently, which would be kind of nice. I think probably slightly nerfed, but not as bad as Puff's. Cloud. Oh, Cloud gets nerfed. I feel like Cloud honestly might get heavily nerfed because one of the most important things against Cloud is just parrying him. If you parry, when Cloud gets parried, he looks like a bad character. And so things like forward air go from like, you can parry it if you're really ready for it to, oh, you should parry it like most every time. And it doesn't really get a benefit like R.O.B does, because it's not like he has a crazy combo game that like needs to react to DI. Like everything's kind of fine in terms of like current lag. And I don't think it gets better with less input delay. So I feel like Cloud just gets like worse because his main counterplay gets significantly better, which is just parrying and like people having really good ground games, because ground games would inherently get better. So I think that like it's just a nerf on him, which is important because God, playing this character is annoying. Bayonetta. I would assume Bayo gets buffed because I feel like the ability for her to be defensive in terms of like her advantage state would get better. Like her defensive counterplay in advantage would be really strong. Also, she has the ability to just like read the DI and stuff on her combos better, which would lead to more kills and more good positions for her. And the negative is, I don't know, because she still has like dive kick and like her recovery is still really good and her disadvantage is really good. So I don't know what the negative is. So she honestly probably gets heavily buffed. I think Bayo would become crazy because she just goes to ledge anyway. So like, yeah, maybe reacting to like random ABK or random heel slide is better, but like those are reactable anyway, or like you should be playing around them anyway. So I don't think that makes that much of a difference. Banjo. Banjo probably gets slightly nerfed because Grenade becomes slightly worse. Oh, I'm really see-through. So yeah, I think Grenade gets a little bit worse because it's easier to deal with, and the disadvantage of this character gets a little bit worse. The advantage is fine, but also he doesn't really have crazy big combos anyway, and like, you can't really DI the Real Blaster stuff regardless, so like, it would just kind of be on them to execute regardless, which I don't think would change that much, realistically. But like, he's still not going to be like a whiff punish character, because he can't really do that, because he's slow and his moves aren't like spammable like that. So I think it would overall be a nerf for him. I think maybe like Neutral B would be a little bit worse as well, but it's still good in general, so I don't know. Mega Man. I feel like Mega Man would overall get buffed because he's like a weird zoner where he's very much reacting to what people are doing, and he's not really like a preemptive zoner like that. Like, he can be, but also he can like react to if he's wrong and like jump backwards because he can be super mobile. The reason it's different than something like Min Min is you're not reacting to pellet, whereas you could in theory react to like arm press. Or like a second arm or something like that. So I think Mega Man would get slightly buffed, and also again, like footstool down, be out of shield, footstool, metal blade, stuff out of shield would just be better. He'd be able to keep people in disadvantage a little bit more consistently, which is still already pretty decent for him. But I think that overall this would just be a slightly better game for him. Like, again, not crazy, but I think it would just be slightly easier because his neutral is already good. His disadvantage can already be annoying because like Leaf Shield is a good move that like even if you're ready for it, he still just like gets to land and then moves. So yeah, I think his disadvantage doesn't really get that much worse. His advantage state gets a little bit better. His neutral probably stays the same or gets a little bit better. So I think that's a buff. Dark Wizzy's here, so I'm gonna go with Mario. I think Mario gets buffed because like his combos obviously become significantly easier. He's able to react to DI and SDI a lot more consistently. He will get walled out a little bit better by characters like Lucina and stuff like that. But at the same time, like, he can just also walk more. Like, I feel like in a more reactable game, he just like walks around and pressures with his like potential burst options, which are still pretty good, right? Like, still like raw back air and dash up air are still very good, but also we can kind of like slowly play the game, up B at a shield a lot, which would be still strong. So I think overall Mario would still be a very good character. Maybe not heavy buff, maybe it goes to like normal buff because the combos get better, but the neutral could get worse in certain matchups, but also better in certain matchups. It just depends on what characters. I think Zelda is a zoner that gets better because she can react to what people are doing and then use down B accordingly. Because she can just let it go at any time, which would be a big deal. Because it's not like people are getting, like, it comes out too fast for you to react to realistically. She also would be able to, like, parry down tilt, parry up tilt, parry up B more, react to up B DI more. Oh my god, I don't even think about it yet. Reacting to up B DI would be insane for this character. Honestly, that alone makes me want to put her up here because people would be just dying at 60. So I think being able to react to up B DI is huge. Like insanely huge. And then again, like, I don't think Phantom gets worse necessarily because you can always just release it at any time. It's different than like, I'm gonna throw this move out and hope it eventually hits you. It's like, no, because you can just go boop and react to it. And like, I don't think your combos necessarily get easier, but up B gets so much better, so it's fine. Byleth. Byleth's interesting. I feel like he probably stays about the same because like he probably gets a little bit better on incredibly close quarter characters, but they also get so much better that I'm not sure if that's true. Things like Nair become easier to deal with. He can react to like up B DI a little bit better, but I think you kind of have to just commit anyway because like you still have to downer just too quickly. So I think that's fine. But also he's slow, so like the fast characters will still kind of trounce him. I don't think he's good enough at walling to really mitigate that on a lot of characters. And still, I feel like he doesn't get better against projectile characters. So like fast characters can still kind of like run all over him. So I think he probably stays around the same. I could be wrong about that. Maybe like that one's a weird one, but yeah. Shulk, unfortunately, gets nerfed because again, a lot of his moves are fringe reactable. Things like forward air, nair are pretty slow. Similar to Sephiroth, right? I don't think it's as bad as Sephiroth because not every single one of his moves is super slow because like down tilt's still gonna be fine. And like he has fucking speed art, like speed art dash attack or speed art run up do something is still insane. So I think he has a lot of benefits when it comes to his ability to play neutral, but also the slower aerial can be a really, really big deal when it comes to like the defense. Like again, I feel like maybe he would, well, like he doesn't really get kept in disadvantage though because he has the ability to just like jump art, which I think is fine for him. So I think that would just generally be fine. But like the slower aerials mean that it's going to be more parryable. And like he doesn't benefit as much from those type of defensive things because his moves are too slow. So I think that is correct. Wolf almost surely gets better. I don't think he gets super better. I don't think he gets super big buffed, but I do think he does get buffed because he's like a neutral monster, and his neutral would just be so good because he'd be able to react to things a little bit better. His dash grab is incredible. His dash attack's really good. Laser's really good for just like random chip damage. So I think he would be in a very good spot. And also, again, he'd be able to react to things like minecart and down air and stuff like that better, which would just make his general matchups like really good. Because again, he can stay mobile and he can stay annoying, and like I don't think being able to react to him is as good. Like back air still would be insane, and like his neutral would still be crazy because he has the inherent empty jump mix-ups because his jump is so low, and he's like a little bit of a fast faller, like not a crazy fast faller, but a little bit of a fast faller. So I think he would be like probably just buffed, like not crazy buffed, but just a little bit buffed at the very least. Little Mac, low-key, would be buffed because he'd be able to whiff punish more. He'd be able to parry down tilt, parry up tilt a little bit more consistently, react to people landing with up smash and up B on platforms. He'd be able to, again, like dash attack whiff punish, dash F tilt whiff punish. Like, I feel like that's fine. Like, and his disadvantage is already kind of bad, so it's not like it gets worse. Like he can react with like down B, or not down B, sorry. He can react to with neutral B a little bit better as well to start that armor, so that's nice. But I think that it'd be nice to be able to like whiff punish with him a little bit better, and that's like his entire game plan, I feel like. Final 3 characters. Young Link. I think Young Link would probably get slightly nerfed because I feel like too much of his neutral is projectiles, and projectiles, like those type of projectiles will get worse. Because it's just easier to deal with them, right? If you can react to them a little more. That's why it's like a little bit easier to deal with those projectiles offline. His combo game would get a little bit better, but I feel like, I don't know how DI dependent his combos are, so I think that would be fine regardless. But also like bomb gets a lot better. Like bomb out of shields, you drop bomb out of shield, throw bomb out of shield would be really, really good. Parry, up B, parry, footstool, down toss with bomb, down air, some stuff like that would get better. But I feel like overall his neutral would be a lot easier to deal with, because he wouldn't be able to like spam as many projectiles. And again, that one I feel like maybe I'm wrong about, maybe they're about the same, but I feel like it would get slightly nerfed. Similar to Wii Fit. I think Wii Fit, well, Wii Fit probably stays about the same, actually, because even though things like header get worse, like side B gets worse, deep breathing just becomes a menace, because now like that whiff punishing becomes insane. Like dash up F tilt, dash attack would be really good. So I think even though the zoning would get worse, I think that the offensive pressure of like deep breathing speed would be really, really scary. And also like being able to like parry F tilt, parry up tilt would be big deals, because like she can get mad damage. So she'd be able to advantage people a bit harder, but at the same time, her zoning would be worse. So against the matchups where the zoning stuff happens, it would be a little bit harder, but against the other characters it would be a bit better. And Yoshi. Yoshi is the final character here. And honestly, I feel like Yoshi probably gets nerfed just a little bit. Again, his combos aren't necessarily DI dependent because they don't really, they're simple enough, right? And I feel like his disadvantage would just get a lot worse because people would be able to react to like the B reverse neutral Bs. You know, just his general like mix-ups would be a little bit worse. So I feel like he would get very slightly nerfed. Like not that big of a deal. Like, I think that one of the less nerfed characters, because, like, his neutral would get slightly worse, but, like, also his defensive neutral would be good, like parry F-tilts and stuff like that. And, of course, his tech chasing is really, really good with Nair, so I think he would be able to do that even more effectively, which we already see Yoshidora do very effectively. So I think that would be very, very close. Also, I wish there was one more character in kind of the same that went into heavy nerf, because if so, we would have a completely symmetrical tier list. And yeah, that's going to be it for the tier list. I hope you all enjoyed. I literally got information as I'm ending this tier list that potentially it's the same. And I don't know how legit the tweet is, and I will look at it afterwards. So I'm still gonna upload the video because I want to. Thank you all for watching. As always, social media and partner stuff is down below, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.